After midnight in New Orleans, the air feels heavy. A curtain lifts in a slow, wet breeze. From the back door comes one dull knock, then another. Wood fibers crack. Somewhere in the distance, a trumpet practices a tired line of jazz. A stranger steps inside a sleeping house, using a tool that was already there. People will wake to find a headline and a city afraid of the dark. They will start to call him the Axeman. New Orleans in 1918 is a city of sound. Streetcars rattle over tracks. Porch fans hum. Jazz pours out of doorways along dim blocks. The nights are warm and sticky, and windows are open most of the year. Many families live above or behind their small groceries and fruit stands. A shop is a home. A home is a shop. People know each other's names. They also know how thin these doors are, how simple the locks can be, how easy it is to hear the neighbors breathe. This is the setting for a series of night attacks that do not look like a modern mystery at first glance. There is no getaway car roaring away. There is no smoking gun to test. There is no clever device that only one person could own. The pattern is simpler and, in some ways, more frightening. Someone breaks a small panel in a wooden door, usually the back door, reaches in to turn the latch, and walks into a sleeping home. The weapon is often an axe or a razor already inside that home. The attacker leaves the tool behind. The streets return to quiet before sunrise. People do not agree on where the story technically begins. Some point to earlier attacks in nearby cities. Others keep the focus strictly inside New Orleans. But by the summer of 1918, a picture forms. Late hours, mostly working-class blocks. Several victims are owners of small groceries, many of them Italian immigrants or their families. The rooms are close to the sidewalk. The heat stays late. The city paints its porches to keep rot away. Men roll their sleeves. Women pull the shades halfway and hope the little breeze will find them. One night, a family hears a creak they cannot place, and in the morning, a back door shows a rectangle punched through a thin panel. The household axe lies on the kitchen floor, as if it rolled from a table. Another night, a neighbor sees a figure move along a fence line, too smooth to be a drunk, too careful to be a thief who wants money. The news columns begin to collect these details. The broken panel, the tool from the house, the late hour, the window that did not wake anyone because the air is always moving anyway. Police do what they can with the tools of that time. They canvass on foot. They ask the usual questions. Who had trouble with you? Who stood outside last week and stared too long? They examine frames, hinges, footprints in soft soil. They note a shoe size and argue about whether it means anything. They look at fingerprints where there is glass, but the scene is mostly wood and paint. They make patrols where people worry the most. Night after night, the patrols move like small islands of light across streets that stay dark between them. In the papers, the tone shifts. At first, these are separate crimes. Then writers thread them together with a nickname. It is not just a criminal anymore. It is a character. Nicknames do that. They knot single stories into a rope. Soon, everyone has heard some version of it. They shop with more eyes than they used to. They shut the back doors earlier. They stack chairs against the inside handle. They leave a lantern on the porch and pray that a pool of light is louder than a lock. The method becomes familiar. A chisel or some tool knocks out a panel. The latch turns. The house opens. An axe lifted from the corner by the wash basin, or a razor from a drawer, becomes the instrument. This habit, using what is in the house, means there is less to carry through the streets. It also means there is almost nothing to trace. The killer moves like a shadow that keeps changing pockets. When he leaves, The tool stays behind, like an insult. I did not need to bring anything. You brought it for me. The pattern has variations. Not every victim runs a grocery, though many do. Not every block is the same. Some scenes sit in busier places. Others are on quieter edges of town. There are times when cutting through the panel does not work, and another window or door gives way first. There are even questions about how many attacks belong to the same hand. Copycats happen whenever the public is frightened and the basic plan is simple. Fear loves to draw circles around different dots and say, "Look, a shape." Investigators, even then, know that pattern making can help and also mislead. They try to hold both ideas at once. Then, into this cloud of late-night fear, comes a letter to a newspaper. It reads like a performance. It mocks. It names no facts only the criminal could know. It claims to speak for the shadow. The writer, a he, the city assumes, says something that people repeat in every bar and barber chair. On a certain night, anyone playing jazz will be safe. The sentence rolls through New Orleans like thunder. The promise is strange and theatrical. Is it a joke, a dare, a lie? It hardly matters in the moment. The line is catchy, and it lands on a city that already uses music as a kind of weather. On the appointed night, bands play everywhere. Houses pump a piano rhythm until their fingers ache. People who have not danced in years raise their hands and move their feet because moving feels like guarding. Some laugh while they play, some weep. Most do both. The city sounds like a single orchestra. A killer has now written a program note for a concert he never had to attend. The letter may be genuine. It may be someone else altogether. It may be a young man with a flair for drama, adding a paragraph to legends he knows will last. Once printed, the words don't care who wrote them. They spin the same way no matter the hand. Back in the practical rooms, officers keep working. They hang lanterns near porches and ask shopkeepers to fix panels and add bolts. They offer advice. Do not leave axes and razors near doors, even if it is inconvenient. Move tools to the front of the house. Use door braces. Sleep with neighbors. They also argue among themselves. Should the city tell the public everything, or is that giving too much to the shadow who wants to be watched? Should they name a suspect early to calm people down, or wait until they have more than a feeling? In 1918, there is no television briefing with a clean backdrop and a line of clear microphones. There are rooms that smell of ink and sweat, and there are men with notebooks who will try to get everything right on a deadline. Some nights bring survivors who can speak. Their words matter more than any theory. But memories under stress are a fragile film. A face seen by lamplight can melt into another face 2 blocks away. A height estimate shifts with distance. Was he heavyset or wearing a coat that made him look that way? Was he a stranger to the neighborhood or just a man who never had reason to walk that street before? Women and men try to say what they saw. They hope it helps. It does help in the ways that honest testimony always does. It also opens doors to confusion that good detectives have to walk through carefully. A few men are arrested over the course of the fear. Some fit parts of the picture. Some have tempers or past fights or a reason to own tools that look too much like the ones sitting in evidence. But no court closes the case on a single clear person who admits what he did and explains how he did it all. Some suspects are weak fits from the start, pulled in by public pressure more than clean facts. Others are stronger for a week, then fall away when a witness loses confidence or a timeline collapses under a train schedule. The idea that the Axeman might be one man for every attack, or a handful across a frantic year, never fully resolves. That unresolved shape becomes part of the legend too. Let's stay with the physical method, because in this case, the method is a kind of signature. The back door panel is thin. Many homes use designs that are easy to repair. A rectangle the size of a hand is the perfect target. A quick hit with a chisel-like tool, maybe a small crowbar, and the panel splinters. A hand reaches in past rough edges to flip a simple latch. Once inside, the instrument of harm is nearby. In a grocery home, an axe sits by the kindling. In a barber's room, a razor waits. The decision to leave the tool at the scene is practical. It avoids walking the streets with a weapon and haunting. People stare at their own things the next morning and think, he used us against us. The city's layout plays a role too. Houses are close. Alleys cut behind shops. Fences sometimes sag. Footsteps can vanish into the hum of a passing streetcar or the tap of a neighbor's hose on a step. The climate keeps people's windows cracked and their sleep light. There is enough noise to cover movement and enough darkness to hide mistakes. And there is, in every summer night, just enough wind to explain a sound you do not want to hear. A story like this one often gets told as if the criminal is the main character. He is not. The center of this narrative is the families who lived next to their work, the neighbors who formed watch groups, the officers who knocked on doors at dawn to say they would try again tonight, and the shopkeepers who repaired doors again and again, because that is what you do when you refuse to leave your block. In those months, people improvise defenses. Some sleep in shifts. Some move their tools to cellars or lock them inside trunks. Some buy dogs. Some keep buckets of sand beneath windows to hear it crunch under feet. Phone calls crisscross streets. Women send children to cousins in other parts of town. Men walk each other home. It is easy, reading old pages, to treat these notes like side details. They are not side details. They are the daily work of staying human when someone tries to break your sense of home. Newspapers play a complicated part. Reporting the truth helps people protect themselves. Repeating rumor grows panic. It is not always clear where the line lies until later. A good reporter in that time is a kind of translator. He listens to police and community leaders and tries to turn the mess into paragraphs the ordinary reader can use. Sometimes he succeeds. Sometimes he feeds the legend without meaning to. The Axeman letter is the best example. Printing it may have saved no one. It may also have given the city the strangest night of shared music it ever heard. The letter becomes a mirror where the city sees both its fear and its voice. Did the Axeman stop because he was caught for something else? Did he leave town? Did the publicity itself push him to move or to fall quiet? No document says for sure. What we do have are human-scale facts. For a time, the pattern ends. People breathe easier. Doors still get repaired, but not for the same reason. The file grows cold. Over decades, writers return to it. Books turn the shadow into chapters. Films reuse the fog. Songs mention the night everyone played. The legend hardens around the few details we know, and creative minds add color where the record is gray. Responsible narration keeps the gray parts gray. It is fair to say the Axeman's method echoed across many scenes. Entry through a broken panel, use of a household tool, attacks during sleep. It is fair to name the heavy impact on Italian-American grocers and their families, while also noting that not every victim came from that group. It is fair to say a letter promised safety to homes with jazz on a particular night, and that the city responded with music. It is not fair to claim that letter was proven to be from the attacker, or that every attack on every list belongs to one person. Where records conflict, we say so. Where witnesses differ, we say that too. The truth here lives in careful lines, not bold strokes. Thinking about how we would handle a case like this today helps us see the past clearly. Modern investigators would swab the handle of the tool for touch DNA. They would lift latent prints with powders and lights not available in 1918. They would test wood fragments from the broken panel. They would build a geospatial map, time, distance, travel routes, and see if any address shows up near the center of many routes home. They would use databases that cross city lines in seconds. They would ask for doorbell camera footage. They would likely find more than their predecessors. They might even have enough to charge and convict. But even today, randomness, caution, and luck can hide a person who refuses to leave a clean trail. There is also the question of motive. Was this about money? No, little was taken. Was it about revenge? The variety of victims argues against a single grudge. Was it about power and fear? That is the answer that explains the letter and the theatre of it all. A person who wants to control not just a room, but a city, would be drawn to writing. He would be drawn to telling New Orleans what to play and when. If that is true, then the jazz night was the perfect stage for him. It made him central for one more evening. And yet, that same night also pushed back. People turned fear into music and refused silence. The letter may have wanted to freeze the city in fright. The city danced instead. The Axeman of New Orleans, as a name and a story, survives because it sits at the crossing of three strong American threads: the birth of recorded jazz, the growth of large urban papers, and the limits of early 20th century forensics. Each thread tugs the others tighter. Jazz gives the story a soundtrack people can almost hear when they read. Newspapers give it a footprint that lasts. Forensics leave just enough gaps for wonder and worry to fill. When you mix those ingredients, a myth is almost guaranteed. Myth is not the same as lie. It is a shape people use when details are scarce. So what can we learn that helps us now? We can learn to protect what is simple. Stronger backdoor panels, interior bars, and better storage of tools. We can learn that a community that talks to itself is safer than one that minds only its own porch. We can learn that nicknames can help coordinate attention, but can also turn a man into a monster whose shadow swallows unrelated crimes. We can learn to respect survivors' testimony without forcing it to carry more weight than it should. And we can learn to hold two truths in our hands at once. Fear is loud, and careful work is quiet. Only one of those ever solves a case. Let's go back to the image that opened this story. A rectangle of wood pried from a door, the soft scrape of a latch turning. A footstep across a kitchen's worn boards. That image is plain. There is no villain's cape in it, no dramatic thunderclap on cue. It is just a simple door and a simple tool and a simple choice to harm. In that plainness is the hardest part. The threat is not special. It is basic. That is why the defense must also be basic. Neighbors, locks, light, and attention. And there is another image worth holding. A whole city playing music. After a letter, after a line that tried to turn fear into a schedule, people did what they knew how to do. They played, they laughed, they held each other while they moved. They showed that culture can answer cruelty without becoming it. That night did not catch a criminal. It did not solve a case. But it did say something about who lives here. It said, "We are more than our fear." In the long run, that message can save lives in ways headlines never record. The Axeman remains unsolved in the official sense. The file sits on a shelf where archivists keep history safe. and students still read it when they study how investigators think. Every few years, a writer or a detective pulls the folders again and sees if a new technique or a new question changes the old answers. Sometimes it does, a little, sometimes it does not. As with many cold cases, the best we can do is hold the facts steady, honor the people at the center, and say clearly where the lines end. If you walk New Orleans at night today, you will still hear music. You will still feel the air move in the way it always has. Houses have new locks and alleys have new lights, but the bones of the city are the same. A shadow once walked these streets. The answer to that shadow was never a bigger shadow. It was a stronger community, a humbler kind of courage that repairs doors and keeps watch and knows the names of the people next door. That is not a dramatic ending. It is a true one. The story you just heard is about a person we may never name and a city we will always know. It is about the simplest parts of safety and the oldest parts of fear. It is about how a letter can tempt us to believe we are characters in someone else's play, and how a community can write its own ending anyway. CTA. If this report helped you see the case more clearly, please like the video, subscribe for weekly calm, fact-first true crime, and comment below. I want to hear from you. Do you think the jazz letter was written by the real attacker, or by someone who used the city's fear to make their own story? Why?